Good evening. It is with great joy that we begin our live broadcast. This is my first spiritual direction of the year. Thank you for your kindness and for the opportunity one had to begin this important mission of mine here again. Together with the CanSound Nova communication system, we are establishing this partnership every Wednesday. Then, with reruns on Saturday night and from Sunday to Monday, we will be able to share the spiritual direction program, what has been a part of my life for so long, as it is an opportunity for me to allow God to enlighten me, to speak to me, to summon me. I always like to emphasize that the first person to hear what is said here is myself, and I am very honored to hear, wherever I go, the testimonies of people whose lives have been transformed through this program. My life has also been transformed here. This project is the best continuation of this project of being free, of breaking all the chains that might limit me as a human being. You know, my people, I draw closer and closer to the gospel with this conviction. It's a joyous opportunity we have to break the chains that surround us. The gospel creates inner freedom because we learn in theological anthropology that God makes us all free as a gift. In the same way, I can say that the seed condenses all the possibilities of art. So the seed has the gift of being a tree. The seed has the gift of being a tree. It didn't need to do anything to receive that gift. All the possibilities of the tree are condensed in the seed, but it will have to go through the process of the task. That is, it will have to fall on the fertile soil. It will have to receive the rain. It will have to allow itself to die in order to be born. Tree, this is the task of the seed, and we often help to care for it. If you want a tree in your house, you plant it from a young age and you work on that seed that was planted so that it becomes a tree it can be. Freedom is the same thing. I talk about this a lot in the book, Who Stole Me From Me. Freedom as a gift. We are all endowed with this gift. I was born to be free. How was freedom granted to me? An inalienable gift is inalienable. I can't say it. I don't want it. This gift is within me. Now I will have a fight in my daily life to achieve the state of freedom of a free man. You, of a free man, of a free woman. Because we become tied down by many things. There are many human situations that undermine our freedom, started with our education. Because when we are born, we are handed over to a family, and families are not perfect. Our parents didn't study discology to educate us. They made many mistakes with us. Sometimes we are victims of our parents' lack of knowledge. It's important not to complain. We only reach this conclusion so we can take steps toward maturity that will later allow us to correct a mistake with our children. How many of us have followed a path that wasn't ours? Just to please our parents? Just to please our mother? How many of us repeat a sad story because we were chained to our parents' flaws and then reproduce exactly their mistakes? We begin to cultivate inner freedom every time we have a happy opportunity to pass through the lives of those who set us free. And there we meet many people with this goodwill, to see us with love, to see us with freedom, to look at our possibilities, identify them, and help us blossom. These are true loves, right? True friends, true bonds. I always like to emphasize this to myself and others. A good friend, a good love, because a friend is a love, a species, one in returns. I'm even afraid of being left behind, of not being well understood. Love between friends is the last stage of love. In my understanding, I understand that the gospel in which Jesus is confronted with some questions is that those who were around made Jesus. The woman is married to him. After he dies, she marries his brother. When all these people die, whose will she be? Jesus' wife said that this is no longer important. I believe that in the final stage, love is fraternity. Father and mother experience this over time. When the mother stops playing a role of mother in the child's life, when he no longer needs the care she said he needed before, the relationship changes. It becomes a friendship. Even marriage is like this. Over time, it becomes a beautiful friendship. All those sexual heats are already settled, right? I hope it lasts a long time in your marriage, right? But it will. You can be sure that what will hold the relationship together in the end is this fraternity that is established, the love for each other, the respect, the admiration. So, every time a true fraternal love passes through our lives, without the interest of sexuality, every time. Those who set us free, and there we meet many people with this goodwill. To see us with love, to see us with freedom, to look at our possibilities, identify them, and help us blossom. These are true loves, right? True friends, true bonds. I always like to emphasize this to myself and to others. A good friend, a good love, because a friend is a love, a species, one in returns. I'm even afraid of being left behind, of not being well understood. Love between friends is the last stage of love. In my understanding, I understand that the gospel in which Jesus is confronted with some questions is that those who were around made Jesus. The woman is married to him. After he dies, she marries his brother. When all these people die, whose will she be? Jesus' wife said that this is no longer important. I believe that in the final stage, love is fraternity. Father and mother experience this over time. When the mother stops playing a role of mother in a child's life, when he no longer needs the care she said he needed before, the relationship changes. It becomes a friendship. Even marriage is like this. Over time, it becomes a beautiful friendship. All those sexual heats are already settled, right? I hope it lasts a long time in your marriage, right? But it will. You can be sure that what will hold the relationship together in the end is this eternity that is established, the love for each other, the respect, the admiration. So, every time a true fraternal love passes through our lives, without the interest of sexuality, every time someone looks at you in a fraternal way, they bring out the best in you, and you become freer. It's so good to be looked at with that gaze that unleashes our inner freedom. People who make us free. There are some who are experts at imprisoning us, right? Just look at us. There's so much expectation in their gaze that we can't bear the weight of it. Some people sometimes don't like me because of you. You hear that a lot, right? It's not that we don't like them, no. It's that the other person looks at us with such weight that we don't enjoy being around them much. We need to educate ourselves to promote the other person's inner freedom and, naturally, to promote that freedom within ourselves as well. Because it's very sad to be tied down by your needs. In his Mazet, Jesus awakened everyone to live this freedom. Jesus was an expert at breaking the power of the chains that prevented those people from being themselves. And that's why the gospel will always be a very interesting way to do your homework, to plant that seed to grow. Because it's your interest to be free. The freer you are, the greater your capacity to love, the greater your capacity to be a mother, without being a victim of your own interests. If you see your child as someone totally different from you, sometimes because we're not free, we want our children to be exactly like us, exactly what we like them to be. That's it, my love. No, that's projection. Is there another name for it? It's projection. But only after we achieve inner freedom are we able to name a few. It's true, I'm being unfair to him. I'm not allowing him to live his life, because, in truth, I'd like him to live for me what I couldn't live, my people. We can't waste time being tied down. We can't waste time getting stuck in our mistakes, or what we've already achieved. Because sometimes we get complacent, right? There's no quality of life. Every time I limit myself to what I've already achieved, my life loses its charm. The good thing is that I feel like I'm digging into my daily life. I'm fertilizing the day-to-day, the seed of my being, so that I can blossom and bring out all my possibilities. You know, one thing that did me a lot of good was that I finished a year. A waste of time, right? A human waste. And me, as I rested and took my rest very seriously during this vacation, I didn't accept even half compromises. I took time to regroup because I knew I needed it. And one thing I felt as a result of my rest was precisely my desire to blossom as a person, which was worn out, you know? A desire to read, a desire to study, a desire to research, a desire to dedicate myself a little more to that which had been so forgotten within me. It's so good when you sharpen your desire to grow, when you encounter your real possibilities, a fruit of the gospel within us. It is a fruit of the gospel provoking us to freedom, because even our desire needs to be set free. Sometimes I want so much, but I'm not free, because my desire is tied down. My desire doesn't allow me to take the steps I need to take to achieve that. May that become a reality in my life. It's not enough to want. You have to bring life to the desire. You have to put action into the desire. It's not enough to want to be a better man. I have to put action into my better self and into my daily life and start doing my homework. because otherwise this seed with all its possibilities dies. Do you have this seed? I do, and we can't neglect the opportunity to care for it, because otherwise you'll be forever tied to your needs, your annoyances, and no one will want to be around. Because just as the free attract the imprisoned, repulsion causes a natural repulsion. And I know that alone is harder. We always need to be looked after by those who will help us experience the process of liberation. But we need to want liberation. It's not enough for someone else to look at me and awaken in me the desire to be free if I don't do my part. Isn't he responsible for making me free? He's just an instrument that passes through our lives, that passes through my life, and awakens me to seek what I need to seek, so that my inner freedom becomes a reality. The gospel in which Jesus frees man from his paralysis? I think it's very interesting for us to reflect on inner freedom through this gospel. The gospel says so. It is in the gospel of matter, in the book of Matthew, chapter 9. Entering a boat, Jesus crossed to the other side of the lake and went to his city. Then they brought to him a paralytic lying on a stretcher. Seeing, and he went to his own town. Then they brought to him a paralytic lying on a mat. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the paralytic, "Take courage, son, your sins are forgiven." Then some of the scribes thought, "This man is blaspheming." But Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said to them, "Why do you have such evil thoughts in your hearts? Which is easier, to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'?" Then he said to the paralytic, "Get up, take your mat, and go home." The paralytic got up and went home. Seeing this, the crowd was filled with awe and glorified God for giving such power to human beings. This word is for us to be saved through this. He is the word of our salvation. Why does he give us the opportunity to look back at what happened at that time and update ourselves? We can download these possibilities. What is the update download? The same thing that happened to the paralytic happens to me. The same thing that happened to this paralytic happens to you. This movement of mobilization. Or, excuse me, if it's a movement, it already mobilizes, right? This movement of actualizing our possibilities. This mobility. What were our sins, our mistakes for? Our comforts, my people. How dangerous it is for us to remain in a state of comfort. When life becomes comfortable there, we can begin to die, because what keeps us alive is a challenge. We are now facing a period of crisis. I was talking about this at home today. If it's to open the eyes of everyone who is currently having the opportunity to get a job and be the best they can, this crisis will greatly affect those who were complacent, those who were working any old way, those who were at the bottom and satisfied. Did they conquer by receiving today? No. Every time we are complacent, we begin a process of inner death, which we only feel some time later, when we are almost buried. Sometimes depression and anguish are the result of this. They are already the first symptoms of death. The prince within us, Jesus, mobilizes us in the same way he mobilizes man to allow nothing, absolutely nothing, to paralyze us in the search for this freedom. I need to go find a man who can be this man. It won't rain on my head. Do I need to go find what I can be? I need to anticipate myself, to increasingly seek out my possibilities and exercise them so as not to die with only what I've already grown tired of. I know that this is hard work, and it can seem very comfortable to live with what we've already thought of ourselves as. I often say that sometimes we get so comfortable that we access ourselves through the same doors. There's always a main door through which you enter, and you never bother to look for some side doors, and suddenly, life takes care of making you stay with the main door closed, and you have to try to find another door to get there. Sometimes we become paralyzed by our problems. We don't take a step forward, years and years of complaining, yet we haven't done anything to solve those problems. Years and years of addiction, feeling the consequences of addiction in our lives. But we haven't taken a step toward overcoming this addiction. There's no point in praying and asking God. God won't do our part for liberation. It's only possible when God's desire, which is always for human beings to be free from sin, free from their mazit-la, free from their injustices, free from all tendencies to evil. When this desire of God meets human wills, then yes, the process, the project, The process of liberation becomes real in us, just like this paralytic. Have you found your way home? You've found it again. The strength of your legs, or even all these possibilities you have in your heart, which sometimes you can't reach because you've grown accustomed to not reaching them, because you've grown accustomed to not being able to walk towards them, is what happens to us. This paralysis can end, and we can start a new year with much more determination, allowing this conviction of faith to permeate the structure of our lives and radically change the structure of our lives. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. I see the gospel working all the time. I see people being transformed all the time by the gospel in a profound, radical way. No. It's not that superficial conversion. I'm not talking about profound changes, about people who will tear away the shells that until then had covered your possibilities. I've seen many unpleasant people become interesting. I've seen many liars become true. Many unfaithful people discover the value of fidelity. Many incompetent people discover competence. Many resentful people will love again. If it happened to so many people, located in the lives of so many people, why can't it break in ours too if it sets so many free? Why can't it also make us free with the freedom you already have within your heart? From the moment you use it, you'll see no one can hold you back. You'll achieve much more than you've ever achieved before. You'll reach territories of your heart you never imagined existed. You'll embrace this possibility and live with great truth, with great determination, the same destiny as the seed, to become a leafy, fruitful tree that has much to offer those who pass through it. Someone who wrote to me said they didn't want to be identified. She wrote to me. She said, "Father, my mother passed away. Besides the sadness, which is natural grief, I feel very distressed because, although I loved her very much, we didn't have a good relationship. It wasn't a normal mother-daughter relationship, and I can't remember when or why it began. She was always very cold and distant. We never managed to talk as mother and daughter. I never disrespected her, and in times of illness, I always gave her the support she needed. You know, Father, in reality, it was very difficult for me to give what I didn't receive. And in recent years, I ended up becoming cold toward her as well. My anguish is also because I wasn't able to be a better person in this situation. Please give me some guidance, my daughter. Whenever we lose someone, it's natural for us to try to measure what we experienced. That's not possible. It's even unfair to us. Every time I try and every time I look back, I have a very, very natural tendency to assign blame, to assign responsibility, as if that would change anything, right? The fact is, as we live, we're not always free enough to change our attitudes. I was saying to you at the beginning, right, that often I'm not able to change an attitude because I'm not free enough to understand it and the mother-daughter relationship. Therefore, a mother isn't always free when she's being a mother and a son, nor is she always free when she's being a son. She can be conditioned by the forces of the moment, by the difficulties inherent to that moment, or even by the normative crises we face throughout our lives. And you're right. Often, we don't know how to pinpoint the reason for the difficulty with our mother. I preached a retreat last week, and I said, it's about the experience we have of God based on the experience we have of ourselves. And at the moment of the retreat, when I invited the people who were there with me to think about the roles their fathers played in their faith, because when I say that God is a father, it's natural that I invoke the image I have of a father. The word father refers to the father I had on earth. God is a father. Naturally, I think about my experience with my father. I often have difficulty experiencing a loving God because my relationship with my father wasn't a good one. I need to free myself from that. I need to realize that the conditioning of my bad relationship with my human father can't be transferred. This bad relationship can't be transferred to my relationship with God. I need to be free to understand that there are two complementary but different realities, and they may even complement each other, but they are different issues. Only time will tell as I free, because I see many people not believing in God because they had difficulty believing in their parents. Human experience is poorly executed. They produce human beings, often with great difficulty experiencing transcendence. When does this begin? We don't know. You said it yourself. The fact is that at a certain point, you realize there was a disconnect between you and your mother. This is so common, folks. It's more common than we imagine. All of us, at some point in our lives, need to heal this relationship with our parents. Let's put the papers in their proper places. Why not? We die without having reached the best of our relationship, because you may very well come to the conclusion that your mother is not the person with whom you have the most affinity, although her being your mother is not a sin. You, at a certain point in your life, establish a respectful relationship always, but without complicity, because it was not possible. And the more you insisted on complicity with your mother, on intimacy with your mother, the more disastrous that relationship became. Suddenly, a certain distance can even be good for you. You get along better in the future. I'm not talking about abandoning your mother. I'm not talking about setting limits for this relationship so that you don't carry the guilt of needing to be like all the other daughters. Isn't it? I have characteristics that are specific to my relationship with her, which are different from my other siblings. Intimacy isn't a rule. Intimacy is an affinity that happens without us explaining it. Why can I have an affinity with Julie and not? Perhaps with another person we can't explain affinity? But when we have this difficulty in such a decisive role in our lives as father and mother, it's natural that we feel guilty, but it shouldn't be that way. We should face it more naturally. Shouldn't human issues scare us as much as they do? Yes, it's my father, but I have difficulty with him out of the blue, from the moment we have the courage to say it. The truth enlightens us, and we begin to have a little more sensitivity in dealing with difficulties. The big problem is when we're within a context of sacredness, so established that we can't say we don't have it. Intimacy with our father, mother, or even our sibling. Family relationships are always fraught with guilt, and we shouldn't act that way. From the moment we recognize the other person's role in our lives, why they bother us so much, why we have difficulty with them, and we start to work on this in our daily lives, our relationships become healthier. So, when the other person leaves without us having done this homework, it's natural that the discomfort is greater, because then you're also romanticizing, right? The other person is already dead. You can't change it. Then you're left with those fruitless questions, huh? If I had done it, there is if I had said it, there is if I had changed it, I didn't do it, I didn't say it, I didn't change it, so it doesn't change anything. We tend to act while we can act. We have to resolve things while people are alive, while we can look each other in the eye and say with great love, "Mom, are you my mother?" But we have more difficulties and facilities. So we won't demand an intimacy from each other that we can't. We will deal with it respectfully. We will help each other with whatever we need. But we won't invade each other's lives, because we've already discovered that this intimacy doesn't work for us. And I won't feel guilty about that. I don't want you to feel guilty about that. My friends, when we have the courage to dot the I's and cross the T's, relationships become healthier. We free ourselves from guilt. Then, suddenly, you realize it's becoming easier to deal with. You release yourself, and so has she. We've learned to say no. We've learned to say yes. We began to cultivate ourselves more lightly. Now, as we wait for the sepulchre to establish itself, it will always be more difficult for us to become aware of this. That's why we need to be very attentive to the role others play in our lives. They're on the retreat. We do this homework. How much of myself was determined by others, and what I now reject. As I matured, I began to see my mother's influence on me and my father's and on me, and I wanted to keep only what was truly worthwhile, what was a fruit of their sin. And when I say sin, I don't have that religious connotation. I see human errors, because they also made mistakes with them. They made mistakes with my father. They will make mistakes in my mother's upbringing. Then she too, because she wasn't able to correct the mistakes of the upbringing they gave her, she continues to make mistakes with us. And if I had children, without the conscience that I have today, I do. Perhaps I would make the same mistakes with them. Because even with conscience, I already run the risk of making mistakes. I know that there at the retreat, many women are deciding, my God, how do I reproduce in my daughter's lives what I so repudiated from my mother and myself? It's amazing, my people, how often our actions are not conscious. We don't bring it into the light. It's amazing how we act. Repeating, in the interjection, in the repetition. So, was my mother cruel to me? Am I being cruel to my daughters? Or the opposite effect of this is, isn't it, my mother was very cruel to mine, to me, and I can't give orders to my daughter because I'm afraid of being cruel to her. Then you end up in the opposite direction, which is not having authority, which is not acting when you need to act, because the middle ground will always be the smartest path. They say it's the hardest, because everything that is smarter is harder. It requires much more from us than simplistic reproduction. So, for me not to reproduce with my children the mistakes they reproduce with me, I need to be very conscious. I need to investigate myself. I need to know who I am. I cannot be a stranger to myself, so that the tomb does not come to seal our ignorance. But now, you, my daughter, what you need is to bury your mother and also bury your guilt. You do not have to feel for your life as a lesson. Don't let the same thing happen in other relationships. Period, and put people in their place. We need to do this even with our friends, my friends. How often are we victims of cruel demands and people who have no respect for us and who demand things that are not ours? If you accept their demands, the other person will never stop demanding. The other person will feel the urge to invade your life because you didn't set boundaries in all your relationships. We use punctuation. We need to consider the role of the other person in our lives in everything, not just in life, in everything. We need to punctuate. We need to set boundaries, even in our relationship with our parents. This letter here is very sad. I don't even know what day it was sent to me today. I was tidying up my drawer. I spent the day throwing away a lot of things. Then I found many letters that I confess I hadn't read yet. This is one of them. Father Fabio, it is an immense emotion to know that this letter will one day be in your hands. I want to thank you for unknowingly helping me stay on my feet after the loss of my son. My name is Emily, and today I have an angel in heaven named Gabriel. Father, Jesus called my son on December 27th of last year, from the 6th, this year, and the year before. And ironically, I don't know, it was his birthday. He would have turned 7. We woke up in the morning. I dropped him off at my grandparents' house, next door, and went to get his birthday cake. When my friend delivered the cake, I got a call from my grandmother saying he was feeling sick and that I should go because he looked like a serious picture. He was taken to the hospital, and I rushed there. Father, I saw my son being taken out of the car in the nurse's arms. He was unconscious, with a purple mouth and the soles of his feet. My son had a massive heart attack at age 7. Father, the pain in my chest was like a burning burn. They did everything at the hospital in my city, trying to bring my son back, but without success. Father, I followed the entire wake ritual, clinging to him, until the moment of the enter. It's as if Jesus carried me in his arms. Friends came to my house. I retired, and they took everything out of the closet I always prepared with so much care. My boy, my friend, my partner, and my son were just me and him. Father, his father didn't live with us. From there to here, I continue my life with the faith I've always had in God, following your program and spiritual direction. And, incredible as it may seem, as you told us several stories of mothers who lost their children and told us immense comfort. What should I do and how should I move forward? Can Sound Nova help me, especially you too? I've always been very Catholic, with enormous faith in God. God, in his infinite mercy, carries me in his arms. I'm sure, Father, that I'll be with my son one day. I wrote this letter to you from my friend Gabrielle Lima, and I ask you to pray for her, for she helps me with a monthly amount to pay for a psychologist who has helped me a lot. I ask you from the bottom of my heart to watch over me, over my parents, Jose, Claudio, and Danae, because they are stuck in time, although they are faithful to God. The end of the year is approaching, and September 27th is in the middle of the holidays. Nurse's arms. He was unconscious, with a purple mouth and the soles of his feet. My son had a massive heart attack at age 7. Father, the pain in my chest was like a burning. They did everything at the hospital in my city, trying to bring my son back, but without success. Father, I followed the entire wake ritual, clinging to him, until the moment of the enter. It's as if Jesus carried me in his arms. Friends came to my house. I retired, and they took everything out of the closet I always prepared with so much care. My boy, my friend, my partner, and my son were just me and him. Father. His father didn't live with us. From there to here, I continued my life with the faith I've always had in God, following your program and spiritual direction. And incredible as it may seem, as you told us several stories of mothers who lost their children and told us immense comfort. What should I do and how should I move forward? Can Sound Nova help me, especially you too? I've always been very Catholic, with enormous faith in God. God, in His infinite mercy, carries me in His arms. I'm sure, Father, that I'll be with my son one day. I wrote this letter to you from my friend Gabrielle Lima, and I ask you to pray for her, for she helps me with a monthly amount of pay for a psychologist who has helped me a lot. I ask you from the bottom of my heart to watch over me, over my parents, Jose, Claudio, and Danae, because they are stuck in time, although they are faithful to God. The end of the year is approaching, and September 27th is in the middle of the holidays. It has made the holidays more meaningful. I'm scared, Father, to feel all again, but anyway, as long as I live, these dates are there. I will have to face them. Thank you for everything. Your blessing, my friend. May God bless you more and more. Emily, my daughter, I know. I have no idea if this letter was sent to me. Last year, I don't think so. I think it was sent to me in 2004, 2014. Suffering? They don't age, do they? I'm sure you continue your struggle to free yourself from loss, just as we too need to free our hearts from everything that once bound us, that prevented us from moving forward. Because pain paralyzes us, suffering paralyzes us, death paralyzes us. And you, Emily, certainly need to face daily the deliverance that God provides you through His strength. But it's a human task. It's difficult to live. It's not easy to bury a child, is it? It's not easy to bury someone we love, because we have many limits that make it difficult for us to grieve, to understand suffering. It's part of us too. You, who also face your struggles daily, who need to accommodate suffering so life can go on. Nothing. It's how we accept it. Things don't happen as we determine. We are not the masters of time. Today we are here. Tomorrow we are gone. Today we have the people we love. Tomorrow we are gone. And we need to be free to understand this. We need to free ourselves from everything that the past holds us back, enslaves us, and that often prevents us from seeing the grace of the present moment. Or sometimes we are tied to the future, right? Which we don't even know if we will have. Good suffering? It doesn't age, does it? I'm sure you continue your struggle, freeing yourself from loss, just as we also need to free our hearts from everything that once bound us, that prevented us from moving forward. That pain paralyzes us. Suffering paralyzes us. Death paralyzes us. And you, Emily, certainly need to face daily the deliverance that God provides you through His strength. But it's a human task. It's difficult to live. It's not easy to bury a child, is it? It's not easy to bury someone we love, because we have many limits that make it difficult for us to grieve, to understand suffering. It's part of us too. You, who also face your struggles daily, who need to accommodate suffering so life can go on. Nothing. It's how we accept it. Things don't happen as we determine. We are not masters of time. Today we're here. Tomorrow we're gone. Today we have the people we love. Tomorrow we're gone. And we need to be free to understand this. We need to free ourselves from everything that the past holds us back, enslaves us, and that often prevents us from seeing the grace of the present moment. Or sometimes we're tied to the future, right? Which we don't even know if we'll have. We spend much of our lives like this, tied to the past or the future. A little of us is left for the present. That's why I'm always enchanted by Jesus' ability to awaken people to the present moment. That's what we often need. To awaken our consciousness to understand the present moment. The past can even teach us. The future can even motivate us. But who should determine us until the present moment? That's what I wish for you. May your present be like Emily's, despite the suffering, full of strength, courage, and resilience. Pour upon us, upon our hearts, the blessing and protection of the heaven of Almighty God, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you, Julie. See you next week. Everyone, enjoy this time of rest that Carnival provides. Be careful not to get lost in it. Be careful not to forget who you are. Be careful not to trade your dignity for any fantasy.